Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then the next step is that I will go live on Facebook.
Yes.
And then I will say we are live. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're live. No, not quite yet. It's still streaming.
It sound on my screen. I could see recording is going.
Okay.
And live on Facebook.
Okay. Then we are live on Facebook and we begin our presentation.
Okay.
Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining the Jefferson Educational Society digital program, Still Life A40, longest coffee table in the world on a German Autobahn. I'm Angela Bowman, Director of Programming at the Jefferson. Folks, as we begin today's event, I'd like to remind everyone tuning in that we're taking your questions via the comments section on Facebook. If you have any questions, please share it there, as we'll work our way through as many questions from you as we can. I'd like to thank our speaker, Michael Schwarze-Rodrian, for presenting his research findings today. Michael Schwarze-Rodrian joined the last 3 decades of structural change as a landscape planner and a moderator of several inter-municipal corporations in the Ruhr region in Germany. Since 2012, he served as the EU representative of the region and promoted green infrastructures and integrated solutions for a sustainable region. Michael studied landscape planning at the Technical University Berlin and is a member of the German Academy for Urbanism and Spatial Planning. Michael also visited Erie last November as a participant in a study group led by John Austin, director of the Michigan Economic Center. He participated in a Jefferson Global Summit panel discussion on rejuvenating America's industrial heartland and how that can be the key to heal polarized politics and strengthen our democracy. Michael, it is great to see you again. Thank you for taking the time today to tell us about transformation and change in Germany's industrial heartland, the Ruhr area. Today, we'll learn from Michael how the longest coffee table in the world was set for 2 million people on one of Germany's busiest highways in an ongoing construct of structural change. With this, I'd like to hand over to you to begin the presentation.
Thank you. I'm sharing the screen and I hope that everything is working.
Yeah, it looks good.
Great. So, German Bundespräsident, Federal President Frank-Walter Steinmeier. It was the finale of an age of coal, stone mining coal, and it was the end of a European history. And therefore, this moment was also joined by Jean-Claude Juncker, the president of the EU Commission. And it was joined by millions of people who noticed that it's really coming to an end. A parallel story is the story of steel. And again, it has been overcapacities, it has been competing companies, and again, very comparable to the coal market. The European and the world market conditions have been changing dramatically. So this exclusive, strong German steel was no more the exclusive one, was a competing one with India, with China, and with other markets. So the development of miners' jobs, steel workers' jobs is comparable, but it did not went to zero. It went to 50,000, and that's still today. So we have a smaller basement of steel workers still today. The experience of the Ruhr means that strategy and concepts have been developed, and they varied by time and by learning. So we had to restructure the companies. We had to found new universities. We had to clean the environment. We had to support new technologies. We had to diversify the economy and to support the small and medium-sized enterprises. And we had to offer the people and the workers and the engineers new opportunities and new things for training. And we had to change from mass production more to a technology-based and knowledge-based economy. If you look on the employment figures, then you can see that in 1980, so that's already 40 years ago, the two beams crossed. The manufacturing jobs were no more and are no more the dominating one, and the knowledge-based jobs, the service-based jobs are the majority for the economy today. So in that way, we can say this exchange of second and third sector worked, and the economy today in the Ruhr is a modern-based economy. During this period, we had to change our focus, and that's that we started to think more in an integrated way, more in a regional way, and more in a kind of developing strategies, supporting fields of competence and looking for new lead markets. And very banal, but very dramatic in the sense of a new structural change are the questions of climate change and energy efficiency today. I mentioned that we still have steel jobs. We still have one big company. This is ThyssenKrupp. All the single German steel companies merged together to one company to be able to keep running with Mr. Mittal from India. And they are in front of the challenges of climate change and energy efficiency. And if you go to the modern factories, steel factories in the Ruhr, you see a complete different inside and outside of a factory, and unbelievable compared with the working conditions in earlier steel factories. And what they are promoting now is to use hydrogen instead of coal to produce the energy and to produce CO2 neutral steel coming years. But that's ahead of us. So we do not know if it really will be what they promise us in the moment, but definitely if steel is continuing in Germany, it will be continuing in the Ruhr, and it will continue and combined with environmental technologies. This change since the last 40 years and also for the coming years needs knowledge-based and qualified service jobs. It's not so much a question of simple jobs for simple working. It's complex things to be done. And therefore, we are very proud to have today 38 universities and colleges of applied science, that we have 275,000 students per year. We are the biggest place for university and college students in Germany. And these different universities who have been funded in the last 50 years are cooperating under one umbrella. It's the University Alliance Ruhr. It exists since 2007, and it means that the three universities have not merged, to be one big mega university, but they cooperating as a community of scientists, of students, of researchers, and scientific cooperation. So as the cities are cooperating, the universities are cooperating as well in producing and supporting young people to get a higher and a better education. So what were important impulses for this change? And I just select three heroes of change. The first is Robert Schmidt. He was a planning director of the city of Essen, and he was discussing with his colleagues between 1910 and 1912 where a better way of urbanism could go. And in his first letters of this book, he said, they have discussed a national park for the industrial zone at Rhine and Ruhr, and that should be located not outside, but in the region, between the cities, and easily accessible for all. They had a vision, and if you remember that in 1912, the cars were not existing like they are today, and public transport was not existing like today. When they said a national park between the cities, then they really meant in front of the door. So that was the first really vision of an integrated environmental concept for a national park in the agglomeration of the Ruhr. The second hero of structural change is Willy Brandt, the later Chancellor of Germany. And when he was running for an election in 1961, he said, the sky above the Ruhr region has to be blue again. And in 1961, nobody could imagine, because the left picture, what you could see here, was the reality. Smoky, sticky environment where nobody could think about a blue sky. And what in those days was an unbelievable dream and promise has been delivered. We have the blue sky over the Ruhr today. The third hero of structural change is Karl Ganser, who promoted and who directed the International Building Exhibition Emscher Park, a workshop, really a laboratory for 10 years for the future of old industrial regions. And from the beginning, from 89 on, it was a cooperative workshop for 17 cities. Karl Ganser has prepared this workshop very well, very professionally, and very detailed, and were 7 fields of activities. The first was the Emscher Landscape Park, to develop in the region an attractive urban landscape. The second was to revitalize the Emscher river system, which we have been mistreated as an open sewage canal. The third was working in the park means bringing new jobs on the old industrial brownfields. The fourth was, what kind of urbanism do we need? Are these high-rise buildings, or isn't it necessary to have a human scale of urbanism? The fifth task was discovering the relevance of the industrial heritage for this region. The sixth was the integration of neighborhoods, and the seventh, again, new offers for training and education so that the people can join the change. All these are soft location factors. These are not highways, no atomic plants, no strong things. These are soft location factors. And in that way, it was a complete turnaround in structural policy. And it was not a green dream. It was thought as a necessary qualification of the region to get a new basis for the structural change and for a new economic development. By the way, it included an investment, a public investment from 2.5 billion euro during this 10 years. It was a workshop based on a strategy. So when it was opened in 1989, a memorandum was published. 5 years later, a second memorandum, an interim report, was published saying how far did we get in the first 5 years of this international building exhibition, And at the end, in 1999, the final memorandum also made a balance, what have been working, what has not been working, what is ahead of us. And it included a program for the last year. It was an open process. It was from the beginning a public process. It invited people to engage, to come in. It was a call for innovation, and it was an ongoing process from the first day. The Finale 99 was really an international exhibition year, and it was a festival of projects. And what you can see here on the IBA Kotelek map is in green, the Emscher landscape park, the green infrastructure laying between the cities, and in orange, you see the single build IBA projects. It was more than 100 projects, and each of the single projects were unique projects based on competitions, on looking for the best design, etc. It was a great various of solutions on topics, on buildings that were included, and it also included landmarks, new bridges, and completely conversions of buildings. I do not have the time today to talk about this in detail, but if there is an interest, I can give a second presentation by the time just about the projects of the International Building Exhibition. If we summarize what these 10 years are, it was a network of people. At the Finale, at the last exhibition hall in 1999, there was a wall of fame in one of the old turbine halls, and there were 600 names, 600 individuals' names, and these were the 600 public employees in the 17 cities who made it possible that 100 projects were constructed, were finished there, were etc. So more than 600 people in 17 cities joined an experiment of 10 years to do things different, to value things different, etc. So those who joined this process really have learned a lesson. So it was definitely an educational program. Carl Ganser was asked to give a book at the end, and that's the back page, the back side of this book. And that's the technical short story. IBA was more than 100 single projects in 17 cities. Each of these projects was unique, and together they are a new network for the future. On the front page of this book, Carl Ganser did it much clearer, much more emotionally, and that was love at the second sight. And this means that you may fall in love with the Ruhr region if you can see it as a person, and a person that can get ill, a person that can get strong again, and that can be decorated, etc. So he thought that the Ruhr is not a common beauty, a common cover girl, but it's a personality that's worth to care, worth to help, and worth to qualify. And that's what it was. A basic result of these 10 years is the story of identity and heritage. And it started, and it is concentrated on the coal mine Zollverein, which now is a World Heritage listed monument. And this World Heritage is visited by the people, and it included also the Ruhr Museum. I will come to the Ruhr Museum later. This is a former coal washing tower where the museum is installed in. And this is an area which can be seen and visited in the internet, which can be seen on the site, and where a lot of guided things are offered, where things are exposed, where things are declared, and where you can understand this time of coal mining. The site itself is visited per year by 1.5 million visitors, and The regional structure that is around it is the industrial heritage Ruhr, the route of industrial heritage, and that's visited by 7.25 million visitors per year. And this means that the Ruhr people and the school kids, as well as all our tourists, are touring on the routes of our industrial heritage instead of throwing it away, instead of saying that's past and no more anything of worth. That's the route of industrial heritage. It's a trail. You can drive with your car a 400-kilometer round course, and you can visit the anchor points, you can visit the panorama, you can visit the typical housing settlements, you can visit 30 theme trails, you can have a multimedia info system, etc. So a lot of information is given about the thing. On the roads, it's marked. On the highway, these cultural signs in Europe are showing that you are in the Ruhr. Industry, culture, and landscape are the headline for the Ruhr. And you see on the motorways the links to the single anchor points who belong to the route of industrial heritage. You can follow and go around without a map because these signs along the roads tell you where to go left or right, and where to continue, and where to put your car on to get these things. A yearly discovery pass is opened so that you can visit all these anchor points with your kids, with your families. You get these stamps that you've been there. So if the kids are interested in that, they talk the parents over to continue and to complete this passport of having been to all these anchor points of industrial heritage in the Ruhr. And by the way, the route of industrial heritage Ruhr was the starting point for a European route of industrial heritage. And if you go to the website eri.net, you will see a lot of examples of industrial heritage routes in Europe. So I'm now coming closer to the table, to the coffee table, which happened as one project during the European Capital of Culture in 2010. This year, 2010, had a motto, a programmatic motto, and that was called Change Through Culture and Culture to Change. And it has this signature called Essen for the Ruhr. Essen for the Ruhr Region, Ruhr 2010, European Capital of Culture. The European standards do not allow a region to apply for this title. It's a title for a city. But in the case of Essen, Essen organized it that they said, we are going into this bid for the whole region, and the whole region will join us if we will be successful. We want to discover, to experience, and we want to move the region for a new understanding of the culture of the change and the change of the culture. This graphic shows you the process of preparing this Capital of Culture 2010. And you see it started with a bidding phase already in 2004. Then the decision of the EU to say yes, Essen for the Ruhr is nominated. And then it started to prepare the program. It started to prepare the strategy, the program books, etc. And what I found very good in this graphic, it has to be loud. It had to be forte at the beginning. Then it had a lot of work to be done in the background. So it was piano, and until the opening in 2010, it was growing stronger and stronger. To this being strong, being loud, being forte also meant that we showed internationally already that we are going into this bid to be a European Capital of Culture. And that was the moment in 2004 when Prince Philip, His Royal Highness from the UK, visited the Ruhr, visited the coal mine, Zollverein, and very proud, the mayor of the town, the minister, as well as the director of the design center, gave the bid book for the nomination to Prince Philip. And this bid for the nomination was shown also in the region. It was shown within the monuments of the International Building Exhibition. It was shown with the light installations in these sites, and it was published all over. So people were going to be used to the coming capital of culture, Ruhr 2010. This shows you again, it's not Essen alone that was going. It was 53 cities altogether. So there were 52 weeks and 52 other cities who said, we are now the capital of culture in October, we are the capital of culture in November, in January, etc. And this program, including all the others, was really convincing. And it also included that the logo for this was really a family for a lot of different sides. It was including and inviting those who are important, those who have the power and those who have the money to be sponsors for the Ruhr 2010, and that also included sponsor logos. The final event was directed by a team of directors, and I'm going to a little bit details of this because it's so important to have these different skills in a program like this. So Oliver Scheidt was a lawyer, long years cultural deputy in the city of Essen, and a professor for cultural policy in Hamburg. So he was really a professional in local administration, local policies, and cultural policies. Stephen Sloan, completely different, is a musician, is a director, a conductor of orchestras. He's been the conductor of the New York City Opera, of the Bochum Symphony Orchestra, and a chief conductor of the Stavanger Symphony Orchestra in Norway. So really something completely different than a politician or an administrative man. Karl-Heinz Petzinka was an architect with an own atelier, very busy building things, and at the same time professor for design and professor at the Art Academy in Düsseldorf. Asli Svendelim was a journalist who studied political science, was a well-known radio moderator, TV moderator, moderator in TV news, and an activist in intercultural cooperation, meaning to include the people who were coming here. And Professor Dieter Gorni is a musician, and more than a musician, he is a manager, a music manager, a pop manager, been growing with Viva, with TV, etc., and a professor for communication design in Düsseldorf. And the chairman, as a CEO, Fritz Pleitgen, was a very famous German journalist who's been the German TV correspondent and director of the studios in Washington, in New York, in Moscow, and for several years, the chair of German TV in Germany. So you see a group of individually qualified people of quite an relevance. The program for 2010 was developed step by step, and it included a thematic programmatic structure. And the structure was the Ruhr mythology, the redesigning of the metropolis, the discovering of images, the changing of stages, the living music, the exploring of language, the boosting of the creative industry, and moving Europe. And this meant it's time to celebrate all these things together. The program of events was orientated on these topics, and you could see here the timetable over the whole year from January to December following these activities. The opening ceremony started immediately at the beginning of the year on the 9th of January, a very, very cold day, and the people were not coming out during the afternoon because it was snow, rain, a kind of a blizzard, and it stopped at 8 o'clock. And people said, okay, we're going out. And then they were out the whole night. So it was very fascinating that at the beginning and the afternoon it was empty, and in the evening it was completely filled with all the people who came out to the opening site, which was Zollverein, and they experienced this first night of this capital of culture. We invited Europe in different languages, and we invited and welcomed all those who arrived on our main station in Essen. I'm starting now to show you 5 projects, and the last one which I show you is the longest coffee table on world is still live on the A40. So the first project I'll show you is the Ruhr Museum, which was installed on the former coal washing tower. It was the result of a competition, and Ram Koolhaas, Dutch architect, won this competition, and he was responsible for making that. And this included to construct a stair house, an automatic stair, rolling stair, which brings up the people to the top. And by the way, this orange is a typical Dutch color, so we'll find quite a lot of Dutch orange in the building, but we thought it's very impressive. And it is this bringing the people to the 24-meter level and let them go down from 24 level to 17 to 12 and then to 6 meter, as the coal former was also driving and going through this tower, being separating stone and the pure coal itself. And the orange stair house, you can walk down, you can also take an elevator if you need that as well. And it's a brilliant museum, installing all these objects of the past into the existing machine. So a minimum of the machine has been taken out, and the exponents, the picture, etc., have been put in between. And this also includes the Romans objects that have been found in the Ruhr area. And it includes, why not, a museum shop and a bookshop where you find now all these literature and special books about the museum itself and the capital of culture. Why not in 2010? The second project that I've selected is Waiting for the River. It's the result also of an exhibition, and it was won by Observatorium, a landscape planning office in Rotterdam. And they installed on a vacant land, on a brownfield, a very special hotel. And they reused already used wood. And they constructed a special, very poetic place where you can sleep overnight with your family. It was only for 2 families on the sites. And it was one of the most visited sites, because people were driving with their bicycles to see this, because they were impressed by the poetic of this recycling of material, and very clearly done. You could understand this construction in any way. And it has been used, it has been booked completely out. And if you were living in there, you could look into this new Emscher Valley, which is waiting, and which was waiting in 2010 for the redevelopment of the river. So that was the way of sleeping rooms, That was also the restrooms in the hotel, and you could see how this place was a romantic sculpture used by the people and placed in an environmental surrounding. After the year, it was deconstructed, put into pieces, and was re-erected 5 years later in a different part of the Emscher Landscape Park. The third thing is the Volkwang Museum. It's an additional part of a museum to an already existing museum from the 1950s, but it was too small and it needed to get a bigger part, and this was done by David Chipperfield, a British architect, and he has really created a wonderful additional part of the building. And you see some pictures here of the first opening already in January, when the people first were able to move in and to see this new building. And what you also can see is that we had long queues of people waiting to see all the details of this new museum. And it's very well used today and very well accepted for special shows and for a daily show during the time. The fourth example, what I'm showing you, is the Day of Song, which was June the 5th in 2010. It is an event where the people of the Ruhr region were invited to sing, to come and to sing with others as a choir or as an individuum. And what you see here on the poster is follow the nicest voice of the world. It's your own voice. And the condition was come to your central place in your city on Saturday at 11 o'clock. And what people did was they did it in all of the 53 cities at the same time. They were coming to sing on the Day of Song, and it was the left is the art director, on the right side is the mayor of the city of Essen, and they had a singbook and were using that. And it was funny that they could sing that, all these songs, and the song that everyone could sing was the miners' hymn, the hymn of the main traditional song of the coal miners, which even though the coal mining is finished, everybody still is able to sing. Between the Waters is also a project which is belonging to the Emscher River, and that's thinking about how do we handle our toilet water, how do we use our sewage water. The left objects there are a washroom and a toilet which you could use. You see the river on the left, which is the Emscher River, still being used as a wastewater canal, as a open sewage, which has to be turned and which is turned today. And this sculpture here shows you what could be a difference. And the difference could be the clearing, the filtering through plants, and the water is going down through this red bottom of stones, and it's going through this garden of plants, and at the end you can drink the water because going through this filter, washing water or toilet water will be clean. So a very dramatic explanation what is necessary instead of our existing wastewater system. So I'm coming to my end, and I'm coming to the longest coffee table in the world. It was a programmatic invitation to the people of the Ruhr. Come to show your culture. Come and join the coffee table on the A40. Come on July the 18th, which is a Saturday. And the invitation was come and be friendly. Come as you are going to your mother or your grandmother on Sunday with a cake, with a coffee, with a tea, and have a nice afternoon. So let's show our culture of doing. And the technical structure was it was open between 10 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon. 20,000 table bench sets have been already installed, and you could reserve your table via internet. You had to pay a fee for this renting for this day, and the whole distance between the city of Duisburg and Dortmund have been 60 kilometers. And at the end, we counted 2 million visitors who followed this invitation. For this purpose, the highway has to be blocked, the traffic has to be taken out. This shows you how many blocking this was necessary in the network of highways on this Saturday. And I had my camera with me. The weather was a great day. So this is in the morning at 7, and you could see that it's already closed, no traffic on this normally heavy load. And you can see the first preparations. And this is bringing food and bringing drinks, something to drink on the highway. And what you can see here is the branding of these tables. Between Duisburg and Dortmund, the longest table in the world, and Hellweg is a supply chain. It's a company that sells home drillers, machines, saws, etc. So they produced and they stored them. And that shows you your reservation as an example. Abfahrt means entrance to the highway, and it's called Essen-Huttrop, because you have on a highway, you have these car entrance and no other entrance where people can go on. And you can see here block number 45, and you see your table is number 33, and you can see also this is on kilometer 66. You could find these tables outside on the road again. What you can see here is that the German food supplier is bringing in the fruits. They did not sell alcohol. They sold fruits, vegetables, water, drinks, etc. That will be good on a hot day. And you can see also that they put out cakes and things like that. That was the concept. We had the southern beam and the northern beam. The southern beam was for speed, bikes and inliners, and the northern beam of this highway was for sitting at the table, eating, drinking, walking, and performing your art. And you could see that people prepared that, and because some of them knew it will be hot, they also brought their umbrellas, the little roofs, to them to keep the hot sun away. And you can see that nearly everything is done. It also included mobile toilets, mobile restrooms, so that nobody has a problem over the whole day. And also special things were offered, like these books of the Capital of Culture 2010 as well. And you can see the preparations are ready. They are waiting, they are bored because nobody is there. The media has arrived, all kinds of media have been there, all kinds of installations have been there to get the best shot, the best picture from this event. And also the people for the emergency groups tested this, what has been done. And you can see that the entrance was blocked, and that was a countdown, counting 5, 3, 2, 1, going to 0. And that was also done by the police from the top with the thing. So it was 10 o'clock, it was open, and also the opening stage, which was a small stage because the event was not planned to be happening on one point, but along on the whole distance. So it was open, and it was, people were already queuing, were queuing for new opportunities to get on this highway. And in this case, they had installed a steel structure, a stair house, which was only there for letting people climb up this bridge to enter the A40 on that day. And what you can see is they came with a bicycle, they came with their inliner, mother, grandfather, grandchildren, bicycle, they came, and what you can see, they came, and it was not possible to drive because it were so many people that the idea of which side is for walking and which side is for biking. This is looking to the east, so the south beam is on the right. And you see, we had a traffic jam. We had the most crowded traffic jam ever on this A40 just after it has been opened. And you could see that this is the entrance, and even the people who wanted to drive on the highway, they couldn't come down. And you could see this car. This car is the governor's car, who is a lady, and she had just opened the event on this little stage saying, it's 10 o'clock and I'm welcoming everybody of you to join the still life. And they couldn't move away with their little caravan of cars and the police because it was so crowded. So Hannelore Kraft, who was the governor, has to walk out of the site because the cars couldn't get along, and people were knowing her very well. And the director of his office had to wait 1 hour until he can move his car away. It was announced on the traffic boards that it's blocked during the day, and you could see again the stair house in Duisburg where the people were climbing up to get on the side. And by the way, and by some kilometers, it got a movement more, so things could be done. It was seen from the bridges, and it was announced in the radio station that a lot of people are on the highway, and so a lot of people decided during the day to come. What you can see here is a lorry from Schenker. Schenker is a logistics company in Germany, and I've been speaking to the annual meeting of Schenker Logistics, and when I showed these pictures, they all said, yes, we were the company who brought all these 20,000 table sets to the highways, and we disassembled them on the night after this event again. So you can see it moved, the highway was decorated, and we could see very different kinds of driving. Mothers with their kids in different ways. We saw the kids themselves. We could see the little girls. We could see the tough young boys. We could see the sportmen. We could also see the group of sportsmen driving together or driving on a laying bike. And we could see these relaxed elder ladies who are joining this tour as well, and almost in a group. And we can also see the elder men who also said used that more as a relaxed day. And you could see all kind of people from the Ruhr, and all kind of movements getting quick, because a lot of them wanted to do as long as possible of this whole thing. And so they did. And by the way, they all wanted to do their own pictures, and they showed up also like this landscape architect who joined this event to show up as a company. We had new using of the entrance and the exits of this highway. We had completely new using of the edge of a road. We had wild parking. We had organized parking of bicycles. We have unallowed parking of bicycles. And why not? We had accidents, so things had to be repaired as it's normally done on highways with cars. And yes, we also had people who injured themselves, and where somebody had to help them and to get them fixed. We also had tunnels where it was very loud because everybody was ringing, etc. doing this thing. It was also a political event, so get out of the deep sea was the motto that Greenpeace announced on that. And it was a European event. It was a day where our neighbors showed the culture on the table, and that was a table given by Netherland vegetable producers, who showed us what you can do with fruits on your table. So it was culture as well. And we could see all kind of performance. This is flamenco dancing of a group from Duisburg. And we could see that the British costumes were shown, as well as historical theater groups. We could see the Lions Club offering the drinks for the men and the coffee for the ladies. And we also had the technical equipment people who helped us during this day in spending water where it was needed in a bigger amount. And we had these critical young guys who were thinking, what are the parents doing today for stupid things on that highway? And we had these lazy boys who were thinking, oh, I'm just here, it's very normal. And also we had these couples of love. And we had very special culture and cultural service for people offered during and along. And we have these musicians. We had musicians in all kind of technologies, all kind of instruments. So the brass band of the workers class was there, as well as the brass band from the football club. And we had these American German dancing group who was showing square dance from the US on the highway, and our German guys who are astonishing looking what they are doing all there during this day. And yes, he was there as well. He was there and he was giving a great show on this little stage. And it was the king himself who showed the rock and roll on this day in the sun. And it was really a great progress and a great success. So at the end, he said, thank you. That was the European capital of culture. That was the still, and if I summarize 10 years later, what is the result? It is regional cooperation. The Ruhr stages are 11 stages who are cooperating, 11 theater, 2 festivals, and they are all together forming one stage. These are the single theaters who are working together today. And these are the 2 festivals, the Ruhr Triennale, which is a high-end musical and performing festival, only performing on industrial heritage buildings, and it's Ruhr Festspiele, who are performing on these normal theater sites. And we have the cooperation of all of the art museums. 21 art museums are cooperating together, exchanging their programs, organizing art exhibitions, etc. And this includes the new art museums, as well as the very unique ones like this, for example, the International Light Art Center in a former brewery cellar where the beer was stored 100 years ago. So the Ruhr card, the cultural card, is the way how to promote this and how to sell this. So we are used now to organize these things. So what could be the final words in saying, what did we learn? And I take Klaus Töpfer, who was speaking about this during the Capital of Culture in October 2010. And he said, the transforming is practice in the Ruhr, the recycling of industrial buildings and site, the renewing of economy, and the cooperation of city. And I think these 4 final thoughts, what is characterizing our change, are quite good. So I will finish with that, not without saying we'll need humor, we need our culture, and we need to do the change and the transformation with the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for highlighting this fascinating journey, these events, the transformation that has been ongoing in your home region. I know we are running a little longer than usual, but I would like to take the time now for a few questions. I hope everyone who's been watching this program enjoyed these tremendous and fun slides as much as I did. I just love the fact that traffic on one of the busiest highways made way for all these people in the Ruhr area who literally were brought to the table and had a wonderful time. So a traffic jam with people is a problem that one does not see often. So here we go.
Yeah.
Here's I remember when you were here at the Global Summit panel discussion, you said that at the heart of any successful economic transformation lies the community that needs to adapt to these changes. And you brought it up here, change through culture, culture through change. And I know you're still very much engaged as a landscape architecture. Do you see any other areas other than the Ruhrgebiet where you see like that concept has been followed and applied to and is working well?
I would say it is not a standard in the sense of a package, but it is understood worldwide that all those regions who are in transformation have understood that the picture is bigger, that it's not only an economic question, that it's not only a question of changing figures or some dollars or some British pounds or some euros, that there are so many contexts that have to be seen and who have to join the change of economy, the change of the market, etc. It's the kind of jobs, it's the kind of skills, it's the kind of management that's needed for these companies, and it's changing social conditions, it's a changing life together, etc. And we are, I mentioned that during the lecture, we are ahead this climate change and energy efficiency question, and that forces us to do so many things so different that this idea of change by culture and culture by change is this interrelation of a very complex society change with a group of single changes. And the fascinating thing is so many things have to change at the same time. It is not only that you have to change the traffic or the energy or the environment. No, you have a developed situation in your region or in your city or in your country. And if it's the world market, if it's the energy crisis, it's environmental needs, things have to be done different. And this means for a lot of parts of our life, they have to change as well. And I think there's no industrial region today which is confronted with this change that has not understood that it's a complex thing and it is necessary to do it together.
And it's certainly a long process for the Ruhrgebiet. It was 60 years, the last 20 years, yeah. More like in a more forward driving way. Yeah. I just, I hope that other areas, including some of the industrial heartlands here along
I would say it
copy some of the models.
I would say a standard is 20 to 30 years. Mm-hmm. Is the minimum time for a sustainable change to bring the sites and to bring the cities back to the market, to a new market, and back to the city's life. So the time of one generation is necessary to organize a successful change.
Right, a generation at least. Now, seeing all these projects that were lined up throughout the transformation in the Ruhrgebiet, can you quickly give us an idea where the funding was coming from? Because a lot of the things were I remember when I still lived in Germany, it was already ongoing. And then, who picked up the tab here?
The public sector had to take the costs that the private sector is not willing to pay for. If you have an old industry like a coal industry or the steel industry, they don't have money. They go bankrupt. They got out of money because their economic situation is not fitting to the market, is not competing with the conditions, etc. So they don't have money to repair their old sites. So these abundant, vacant old brownfields are contaminated, etc. And there's no private money to fix it. The new investor, it wants to start on a fixed site, on a clean site, on a clear site, does not want to work on a poison site, on a contaminated site, etc. So somebody has to pay for this gap of decontamination, etc. And this also includes structural changes. So in our case, the public sector, step by step, project by project, program by program, city by city, government by government, took over the relevant costs that are necessary to do the structural change and to do the cleaning repair work. And then giving the sites to the private sector again. So if we take Zollverein or if we take any other coal mine, the public sector moves in for cleaning and is re-renting or reselling the clean sites to the private industry, and private industry welcomes these now attractive cultural buildings with this industrial heritage volume to be a basic place for their new offices, etc. The resources were coming from the EU for more than 40 years. So the EU has started very early to put in programs to renovate steel regions and coal regions all over, and they are still doing it today. So if you think about lignite, coal mining, open cast mining, and getting away of that, that's the actual current running program of the EU to have a just transition in Poland and Czechia, in East Europe, and also in the rest of North Rhine-Westphalia, where we still have open cast mining. And so the EU, the European Union, has paid a lot of, has given a lot of money. And the regional states, like North Rhine-Westphalia, like Saarland, etc., gave the most. The federal government was not so much giving money into. So it was more the regional and the local level and the EU level that spent the most public money.
Thank you for elaborating that. I do have an audience question here. So
Please.
That person is asking if folks were thinking of doing something like the longest table in the United States, what advice might you offer as they are beginning? There
must be a reason why to do it. So sure. there are different examples of public tables. It was, for example, a long tradition in the UK to have the Queen's birthday as a birthday party on the street. And the people were not going out to a highway, but going out on the street, also having a public table, public chairs, and also carrying out their cakes and drinking and having a nice day. And they did it every year. So they had a good reason, and they had a tradition, and they had some regulatories to do so. In our case, it was a special thing which we were planning, which we negotiating for more than 2 years with the federal government, because our federal highways are run by a federal administration, right. And we had to promise that we will never do it again. Yeah. The promise was, the condition was, we promise that we'll never do it again. And after it had been such a unique event, it has not been raining, and 2 million people were happy to do so. And by the way, all these chair and benches sets were completely sold out afterwards. You could buy that in this retail shop for machines and drills, and they sold out immediately. So a lot of gardens still today have this branded so we planned to do it. We negotiated for that. We had this cooperation of these fire brigades, of these emergency brigades, and so what a lot of preparation for making it possible and to show a different culture of traffic. So we had an idea that it should be a transformation signal. And we will not do it again because something which happens so good, never try it again. The second will be worse. So we will not do it, and there's no political will. So, but coming back to the question, there must be a reason or an idea or a strategy why to do it, and then you have to collect your partners. So if you imagine my curve at the beginning, where silent was this how to prepare things before you speak about, is quite important in the sense of a project management to make it. And then you must assemble the money. So in our case, we had sponsors. We had these fruit sellers and drink sellers, etc., which helped us to finance it. And also the table transport was co-financed from private sector.
That is very good advice. I hope some folks who like our Celebrate Erie here are listening today, and I'd be happy to forward any questions they may have after this program here, because I think this would be something that, as I know the culture in Erie, they like these, we call them block parties, the Celebrate Erie. So there is a culture that enjoys this, you know. So if somebody wants to know more about the longest table in the world, then I'll forward that question.
And they also can contact me directly if somebody wants to make the technical steps, then I can tell you more about that in detail.
Right. Well, Michael, this was a very, very enjoyable program. You're so knowledgeable. I really appreciate the professional photography and how you explained all the lead up to the longest coffee table in the world. So thank you so much. I think there's very much potential for future talks, because you've been a citizen of the Ruhr Region for so many years, and you're still very active as a landscape architect. I know you just came back from a conference in Prague. So let's stay in touch. This sounds great. Please come back to Erie, come back and tour some of the buildings and see if some of the brown sites have been, turned around, become some green space, or maybe something like the Zollverein. That would be wonderful to have here. So thank you again to our presenter, Michael Schwarze-Rodrian. Thank you for sharing your research and the great resources for us today. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If we didn't get to every question the audience might have had, please send them to me, beaumont@jsedu.org, and I will forward the questions to Michael. And of course, to all of you watching along, thank you for tuning in. These programs and discussions and the exchange of information and ideas wouldn't be possible without you. Folks, for more information about the Jefferson, including events, how to register for additional programs, please visit our website, jsedu.org. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Jefferson Educational Society, I'm Emscher. Thanks for listening and learning with us. Thank you again, Michael, and I hope to see you soon again.
Okay, bye-bye.